All right, I'm hitting the go live button and StreamYard says we are live. This is the Wednesday live stream and welcome everyone. If you are first in the chat, please do me the favor before I waffle on for 5 minutes that you can hear us, see us, all of the good things. I am waiting over here on YouTube to make sure that this goes live and then I'm going to mute that. Boom, taken care of. So that's live over there. And as you can see, I have actually made some effort to have somebody hang out with me. And who I have here is a colleague, and I would like to say friend, Luke Jordan. And I'm excited to have a totally selfish chat with him. Basically, I have all of my questions, and if everybody in the chat has some too, you're welcome to throw them in. But basically, the point of today is to enjoy myself. So welcome, Luke. Thank you for at least having coffee with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm not on mute, am I? I just muted up for a second there, and now I can't remember if I unmuted myself, but no, apparently.
No, I can hear you fine. I went on Professor Ron's stream about a month ago, and none of my tech worked. So I was literally stuck streaming with my phone that almost had a dead battery. So I had to like balanced up here on so you could see me, but it was balanced on the cord because that's how it was held up. So it kept falling over. So people are like, I would be talking and it was not ideal is what I would say.
Well, I'm obviously not very well practiced at this. When you started it up and you said, "Oh, write in the chat if you can hear me and stuff," I thought, "Oh, I'll open the stream up just to make sure I can see it." But then I thought, "Oh, I don't want any sound to come through, so I'll mute my sound." And then obviously I couldn't hear what you were even saying. And I was like, "Oh no, I hope she's not asking me any questions or anything," because
yeah. Oh, well, welcome. Welcome to live streaming. So before we get too deep into anything, before I go to the chat and say hi to all of the handful of folks that are here, because so far it looks like there's 5. Hello, everyone. Why don't you do us the favor of just giving us a short introduction so people know who you are, and if they catch us on the replay, they know what it is and why it is that you are here.
Yeah, sure. My name is Luke, and I don't really know how to describe myself. I never know how to describe myself. I run a few affiliate sites. I run a few blogs, YouTube. I guess I just do a bit of everything. The main way I would try and describe what I do is I just try and do what I enjoy and make money from it. Whether that's starting websites or making videos or whatever. They're 2 things that I enjoy doing. So fortunately for the last few years, I've been able to basically earn from my hobby. And does that describe what I do at all? I don't even know.
I think it's close enough. You could say, hey, yeah. I sometimes will say content publisher, but when I say that, the people I say it to who don't understand what that is are like.
I just say online marketer.
I mostly say I'm a blogger. And then if I say, I make money blogging, most people are like, oh yeah, I understand that. They don't necessarily understand how it goes. And they assume that I'm probably making crafts and then, posting about them, like the tutorials on crafts, but that's,
that's definitely the impression most people get when you say you're a blogger. You're talking about your life and you're talking about doing crafts with your kids at home.
And and I definitely don't blog any of that because I'm not good at any of that.
I'm sure that's not true. But yeah, blogger is definitely close to what I would describe myself as. Yeah, go with blogger.
All right. And as blogger and YouTuber, I'm going to check the box on both of those things because you do both of those things. I'm jumping over to the chat. I wanted to welcome some folks in who have gotten notifications or hopped on early enough. And I see Paul, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Paul. Paul is in our accountability group, or at least has been. And I don't want to call him out, but Paul has had a tough time the last couple of weeks because of work and trying to get back to the computer. And so I just want to tell Paul, I totally get it. And man, I just want you to do whatever you can to get back to it. Even if it's like 1 post a week, it doesn't have to be a post a day or anything else. Just find a way to get back at least some sort of progress. It doesn't have to be a lot. That's all I'm going to say about that. I know you can do it. I also see Tortoise Cashflow. That's Anthony. What is going on? He says that he is at work, so probably won't be in the chat too much, but Anthony is also hard at work and has been putting out videos that are a little different lately on YouTube and experimenting. And I just love to see that. So well done, my friend. I also see Margaret, who crushes us all with her effort, putting out content, and welcome. Thanks for dropping in. There is Adrian, also manages to get to the stream and is working really hard. There's Alexander and Niche Safari Chris. Chris, I watched your interview with Doug Cunnington, so you went on his channel and vice versa. And I thought they were fun. I think I recommend that people check them out if they have the chance. There's Pavan. Hey, I saw that you jumped back into the April Mega group. And by the way, I am planning on going forward in April. So I had planned to stop in March and just not track anymore, but people have asked about going forward. So the link is in the description. You want to put your name in and your goal for the month. Let's get it. So Luke, there's questions, a couple of questions in the comments, but I want to be selfish and ask you what I want to ask you first, which is, what are you focusing on now? By the way, folks, if you want to know Luke's backstory and all that stuff, the link to my previous interview with him is in the description. I'm not going to go through his whole superhero origin story again, because I already know that. So you have done other things in the past, but lately in the past, 3 or 4 months, what are you focusing on and why?
That is such a tough question to answer because it really seems to depend week by week. The worst thing I have, as well as shiny object syndrome, is ability to focus on one thing, because each week I feel like a different path is the best option for me. So one week I'm like, right, YouTube, I've got to do YouTube. I've got to make these videos. The next week I'll be like, oh, the video ideas weren't quite right there. I need to do some different videos. And then the week after that, I'll be like, yeah, I shouldn't make videos. I should write content instead, or I should make websites and stuff. And then the next week I'm like, why am I back to this? I should be making videos again. So I would say right now, my current focus as of probably today is that I want to focus all of my effort into one website that I've got, which I did a series on before, like trying to grow this ad revenue website. I've got some quite big plans for it. I literally want to almost tear it apart and restart, which most people wouldn't do. But maybe we can discuss that a little more later on.
No. I'm immediately firing off, curious to say, okay, you want to tear it down. And first thing I thought is, okay, well, what is it doing now? And what are you planning on doing to it? Like, let's just go there. Like, what is it doing? And what are you going to do to it to make this happen?
So I bought an affiliate site. It was a small, typical Amazon product review site quite a while ago. And I had this plan to try and turn it into something that made money via ads as well as via affiliate. And I thought there was quite a good angle to get a whole load of traffic with it. It was quite a big niche. And I thought I'm going to try and get millions of visitors to this site. And it started to go really well. So it was at about 100 visitors a day when I bought it. I ended up taking it up to about 7,000 visitors a day within a few months. And then when the core update hit in December, things just went terribly. Like, things went down to 2,000 a day, roughly 1,500. And even though we continually work on the site, it's dropping. Like, at the moment, it's below 1,000 visitors a day. And whilst I've been working to improve things, and I think most of the things that were done wrong in the past from previous strategies and stuff, previous owner, I think strategies change over time, right? So there were some things that I think weren't done well. There were some things that I perhaps didn't change quickly enough. I've tried to implement all of that.
Like what? Like, what wasn't done well?
Like link building, for example, link building over time changes, maybe too many exact match anchor text links, or just the fact that it was a thin product review site. And then suddenly we started trying to expand it, but Google seemed to be pretty heavy-handed on thin affiliate sites in the last update. So there's things like that where we're trying to move away from it and we're trying to improve it over time. But I still have these lingering doubts about sort of branding, like the domain name. I don't really like it. I don't share domains that I'm working on, but some information I can give is it's a .net domain. It's not .com. It has other domains that are very similar in name to it from all kinds of people, or even the same name, but like .com or .co.uk or hyphenated. Like, there's so many different sites that have very similar names. So there's one big issue for not improving the site right now, but where I want to take it to in 2 years or 5 years down the road, I want to have this huge brand. That's ultimately what I want to develop. I don't want to develop tiny little sites. I'm happy to work on tiny sites and grow them and grow them and grow them. But end goal, I want a huge site at the end of it, or a load of big sites.
So it sounds like changing up the domain name, potentially either disavowing old links or doing some more updated, maybe grayer versus black hat link building, and then creating content. Just, you said it's a really thin affiliate site, so
it was a really thin affiliate site before we started working on it.
Mhm.
Then we started adding loads of blog info content to the site, but we were only doing that. Sorry if you can hear the dog barking outside. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can, yes.
It's too hot for me to close the window.
It's okay.
So we were doing that for about 2 or 3 months, but then the site got hit, and I'm not really sure if the site got hit because of where it was previously, which seems unlikely. But in my eyes, we were starting to make the site a lot better, yet we still got hit. And ever since then, we've got like 400 or 500 posts that have been added that are all reasonably good. They're targeting things that other people aren't writing about. When we actually manage to rank for something, we get a lot of traffic and the user engagement is good, but then it drops off a cliff. Like, we lose the ranking, and it seems like we're definitely suffering from some form of penalty that I assume is just sort of a legacy type thing where Google's realizing that in the past the site did loads of stuff and it wasn't quite cleaned up well enough.
That's interesting, because I've heard I don't want to say several, but I've heard as a strategy, folks that were in that situation or just really struggling with Google, it was to get a new domain, a fresh domain, either a new to you age domain, or new somehow that it just was something different, and then just redirecting the whole site and just moving all the content over. And it seemed to clean up some of that stuff. I mean, have you given any thought to 301, just do a whole site transfer to see if you can clean that up?
I have thought about it, and with some of my other sites, like my really smaller ones, I'm trying a mix of 301 into a different domain and just leaving it, because a lot of people recommend just leave it and wait, and you will see some rises in the future. If the site deserves to increase, then it will, and if just sort of be patient. The issue I have with both of those things, well, maybe not the 301 redirect, because that is kind of what I've got in mind. But the main reason I don't want to wait it out and just see how things go is because even if things did improve and get to a much higher level, I would still have all these doubts about the long-term future of the site and branding and stuff. And it's almost like I want to rip the Band-Aid off and just be like, you know what, here's everything that's wrong with the site. Let's just clean that all up immediately. And yeah, we're going to suffer right now, but in the future, hopefully things would be better. And yeah, things could be good if we waited, but they could be great if we didn't. We'll never know where we would be with things we didn't do, right? So does that make any sense?
It does. And the thing that sticks out to me in what you said, there's like the long-term potential of the site. And you say, okay, well, in my mind, long-term, because of the uncertainty, like long-term to me isn't 20 years or 10 years, I think. Yeah. Long-term has become a much shorter time frame, because we just literally don't know what's going to happen. So you say, okay, well, in 5 years or 10 years, I mean, are you thinking that you'll be holding this site in 10 years and you can actually project what it might be doing then? Because I honestly don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't know what's going to happen in May. I apologize
for the noise if you can hear that as well. I also live near an airport, and there's now an airplane flying past my window. So
my neighbors mow their lawn usually around the time that I live stream, but it's not bothering me. I mean, so just as far as longevity, like, do you feel comfortable looking down the road and saying, okay, in 5 years, I think that this site will be doing A, B, or C?
No, that being me, I want to change what I'm doing week to week. There's no way I see myself doing the same thing in 10 years or 20 years. Like you just mentioned there, you just said like 20 years. And I was like, what? 20 years? I meant 2 years. That's long term. A long-term future for me is 2 years. No, the reason that I'm sort of thinking of a long-term plan is not necessarily because I see myself running it in 10 years, but I think in 2 years or 5 years, if I wanted to sell that site on, it has a lot more value if it has an established brand, or it's started to have an audience building up around it, a community, for example. That's the reason I would want to move towards something that has a much stronger brand, because if a potential buyer could see that it has more upside, then they would pay more for it. Hopefully.
Paul asks, my question to Luke would be if he could give us an update on how well his blog acquisitions are going.
Yeah, absolutely terribly. So So as I said, I got hit pretty heavily in the December core update. I did a few videos on that. And my decision at that time was to do a few things. So I had like 7 sites that I'd bought. I've actually sold one of them very recently, which I did a video on and managed to make a small profit without really doing much work, but it's tiny amounts of money in the grand scheme of things. There was another site that I was trying to sell as well that I haven't managed to sell, but it's actually doing pretty well. It's the only site I've got out of the ones that I purchased that is doing much better now than before I bought it, which makes no sense because it's by far the worst site that I've got. When I was trying to sell it and I was sending the link to people, I was embarrassed to send it. I was like, no, this is the site I didn't do much with it since buying it, so it's not my work, but I was like, I don't like this site. It's a bad site. It doesn't deserve to rank really, but it is now making a decent amount of money. Not quite 4 figures, but it's had some months. Oh my god, this dog! I'll have to close the window and sweat it out in a minute. So that site is doing well. The bigger sites that I had, the one site that was doing really well is just nowhere. It's like decimated. And if you look it up in Ahrefs and stuff, it seems to be doing pretty well. When you see it in analytics and you see the earnings, it's just not getting anything. I paid like $16,000 for that site, and it is not doing well. Fortunately, it managed to earn a reasonable amount of money back near the start, and that is a site that I am 301 in. I've got a new domain name, brand new domain. I've already rebranded the site in terms of design and stuff. I'm going to close the window now.
That's all right. I'm going to use this time really quick to mention that for folks that are unfamiliar with me and the channel, I do have a main channel, and where I post most of my videos. And this is the channel where I just do my live streams. And so if you want to see other content that I produce about websites, it's over on the main channel. And I also have a podcast where I first initially met Luke, and his interview is there, and the link is also in the description. So it's like a little plug for myself, which I
and also hit the like button on this stream if you haven't already, because someone said that in my stream the other day, and you could just see the likes going up. So make sure you hit the like button.
Yep. So far we've got 9 likes. I think 20 in the stream would be a good goal. That's the goal. I wanted to say, hey, a couple folks dropping in. I see JYH, what's going on? I just wanted to shout out to you that I sent you a quick email. We are doing the accountability spreadsheet for April. So you wanted to be notified if we were going to do it. There we are. And I see Paul, and a question from Anthony is, we want to know about your Love CTR business. How is that going?
It's going all right. It's
really
going
quick,
okay.
Tell us what it is. So folks may not know what this is and what this all is. Like, tell me just really quick.
So this was an idea I had where I've been saying in videos for as long as I can remember when I'm talking about websites that title tags on a website, the title that shows up in Google when you search for something, it is a massively underrated strategy / totally ignored strategy to optimize these and make them more attractive for people to click. If you change it and you increase your click-through rate from 1% to 1.1% or something stupid like that, you're getting 10% more traffic than you were before. Like, making tiny changes to these title tags can have a huge impact. So that's something I've worked on for years on all the sites I acquire as well. That's one of the reasons why after I acquired sites, traffic went up sharply on most of them, because the title tags were bad, and I knew they were bad when I was buying the site, and I was like, I can go in and buy this site, improve the title tags, and probably see some uplift straight away. So I thought, why don't I start doing this for other people? Excuse me. So it's a service which basically reviews the title tags on your website and improves them, and that is it. That's the entire service. And so far, I've been trying to grow it as slowly as possible. I don't want it to become a full-time thing for me to do, and I want it to be as good as possible. So I don't want to try and grow it too quickly, because then quality drops. But what I would say is that all of my customers so far have all been people that I know or I have followed in like the SEO and online marketing space for years. Every single order that I've done has made me, trying to phrase this, has made me very nervous. It's made me really anxious to actually do the work, because I'm like, well, these are people I've respected for such a long time. I can't believe they're ordering from me. And they've all been really happy with it. Like, I can't believe, you see testimonials on the website from some of the people that have used the service. So I would say it's going well and people seem to like it, but how big it would actually get, I don't really think it would get that big just because it's so niche, but I kind of like it that way.
Is there any, I'm going to put up my air quotes, secret sauce that you could give us about the service that you provide, or just some takeaways or tips that people could apply that you are doing as far as your customers?
I don't really keep anything a secret. I'm happy to literally share the entire process with people because I think it is a bit of an art. Like, you can know how to do it, but it doesn't mean you'll necessarily be really good at it. The biggest tip I would say is that from testing and researching things.
Hey, by the way, I was putting up my mug because Alex, who's WP Eagle, who sent me this mug, is in the chat, and he wanted to know what the URL was for the service because he was curious about it.
It's lovectr.com. That's CTRs in the letters. Love click-through rate. Lovectr.com. The biggest thing that I would say about title tags is that the limits that you see within Yoast or Rank Math and plugins like that sort of tell you how long you can make your title before it truncates, they are not accurate. So the actual limits of how many pixels you can fit into a title tag differs between mobile and between desktop. So if your site gets a lot more traffic from mobile than it does from desktop, you probably have like an extra 40 pixels or so space to play with. I normally say that if you get 70% or more of your traffic from mobile, you should be optimizing your title tags for mobile. If you get, more than 30% from desktop still, you should be optimizing for desktop, because if you optimize for desktop, they're never truncated on desktop and they're never truncated on mobile. Whereas you could set your title tags that are the mobile length and they could look okay on mobile, but on desktop, they'll still be cut off and truncated and stuff. That's the biggest tip I can give. I think that's just such a small thing that don't trust the limits in Yoast or Rank Math or it. A lot of people don't even set title tags, right? So some people might not even know what I'm talking about here. Set a title tag. There's the number one thing. Don't just copy and paste the heading of your post. You should set an optimized title tag that is slightly different to your actual title on the page, usually because your title won't fit in.
So when you say, I'm going to put up my air quotes again, I feel like I'm just deploying the air quotes. When you say setting a title tag versus making a headline, how is that different? Like, where does one go in their site to do that then?
Well, in WordPress, I only know in WordPress, and I use Rank Math. A lot of people use Yoast. Some people use different SEO plugins. I set my title tags in Rank Math. So you would open up the WordPress editor, you would create your post. Your actual title goes in the heading, the H1, where you create the title of your post. But then if you click onto the little Google snippet thing within Rank Math, within the post, it opens up this separate box. This would be so much easier if I could actually show you.
Well, I know what you're talking about. I use Rank Math, so when you do, it brings it up, and then it gives you the opportunity to set the URL, like the path, and then the meta description. And so you're talking about in there, then it's actually doing it.
Yeah. So that's where your title tag is. The difference between a title tag and the title of your page is that the title tag is what shows up in Google. The title of your page is your H1 tag that readers see when they land on the post.
So what we're talking about then is because I assume when you say that, we're actually setting up the URL, so the path, so it has domain.com/ the keywords in there and /. So that's what we're talking about optimizing there. Yeah.
Just the title.
Just the title, even just the title. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't optimize the URL because I don't recommend that people change their URLs too often. So I'm not going to be going in and saying to people, oh, here's a better URL. Even if there is a better URL, and there quite often is, I'm not going to be going in and saying, here's a URL you should change, because you'll probably lose some SEO value as a result of that. You can also set a meta description. I don't do any work on meta descriptions just because, firstly, I've never tested it. It's not something I've ever really tried to optimize. So I don't want to sell a service that I'm not familiar with or I'm not very good at. Secondly, sorry.
No, I'm going to admit, from the beginning, that this wasn't something that I had done a whole heck of a lot of, right? Because I usually just set the title and then the permalink and the description. So when I would go into the post, right, and I would put in the header. And so when I opened up the rank math, because I just went to rank math right now, and so it has the option for title, permalink, and the description. So we're actually talking about the words that go in that title spot there.
Mm-hmm.
I see it, and I honestly have never even thought to touch that.
Yeah.
Never.
Most people ignore it.
No, I totally did. I literally did. It has the title and then the separator and then the site name.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's where it is. I just literally assumed that when people are talking about the title that they were talking about the headline that was the H1.
No, so the heading comes in a H1 tag. Titles come in a title tag.
Yeah, and so in general, unless you're using a plugin like Rank Math or something else, that's not going to be an option for you to mess with in most cases. Or is it?
If you're familiar with web development, I'm sure it is, and I think most CMSs will include something for this. But if you're just using raw WordPress without an SEO plugin, then no, I don't know how you do it. I'm sure there's a way with like a custom field, but I'm not a developer. I don't know this stuff.
There's some folks in the chat who are trying to direct me because I just exposed that I didn't actually know that this was. I mean, I knew, but I didn't really know. Like, I didn't really know people were working on optimizing that versus the headline. I knew, but I didn't. And so Adrian is like, that's the slug. And I know, I just wanted to make sure. And then Pavan was telling me, I know, yeah, I get it, guys. I get it. He says, but having the same header as title makes it more credible. Does it not?
Yeah. So I'm not talking about completely switching it. It's not a totally different title. It's just something more optimized. So, for example, you could have a site about sunbeds, and your post could be the best. Why have I picked sunbeds? I clearly don't have any experience with getting tanned, right? But so your post could be called the best suntan lotion for use on indoor sunbeds. God, I don't know if that makes any sense, but let's say you've got that title. It's fairly long, and then most people's title tag will be the same as the title, and then it will be dash name of the site, brand name, or it'll be pipe name of the site. So it'd be best sun cream for use on indoor beds, pipe, name of your site. That is just way too long to fit in a title tag, so it will be cut off in Google. It will just say ... So what I do is I just remove certain words or change the wording in certain ways to fit in without being cut off, and this just looks a lot more attractive to click. Some sites just have terrible titles, and there's a huge opportunity to make something more attractive to click. But ultimately, you're not changing what people are actually seeing. They're probably not even going to notice that the title doesn't exactly match.
And they probably won't notice that the title that they saw on the Google results page for their search doesn't match the title when they actually go to the blog post.
because they're quite similar.
Got it.
But I would agree, I wouldn't do something that's totally different.
In the last couple of weeks, we have gotten the news that, I mean, everybody knows, I don't want to say everybody, but most people are paying attention to the fact that there's a big site speed update that's going to come hammer us apparently in May. It's like Armageddon looming.
Yeah.
I got word that Ezoic is retiring their site speed accelerator and launching this Leap product. Have you heard anything about the Leap product, or are you making any plans yourself to really make any changes before the Armageddon arrives in May?
Firstly, I would say I've always been quite heavy on site speed improvements anyway. So it's not something that is a huge issue for me. It's not getting me worried or anything, because I use lightweight themes and I have good hosting, and that is 90% of what you need. I always upload images at the right size for the site, and they're always compressed. There isn't a whole lot more than having a light theme, good hosting, and make sure you're uploading images. I'm sure there is other stuff as well, but there's not loads more in terms of getting a half decent speed. I'm not saying you're going to have an amazing speed guaranteed with that, but you're probably going to have a pretty good speed. However, the one thing that I'm having issues with is CLS, the cumulative layout shift score within Core Web Vitals, which is a big problem for sites that monetize with ads.
Yeah.
However, if you monetize with ads, if you're targeting terms that you monetize with ads, chances are every single result in that Google search that shows up when your site does is also going to be monetized in the same way as you, because everyone's competing with the same types of content, which means they have exactly the same issues. I don't see a way that they can really get around it with ads, just because of the way they're sort of dynamically inserted. I'm sure there are ways, but when you're using companies like Mediavine or Azoic or whoever that sort of put them in dynamically, I don't know how you actually go about optimizing for that. But I wouldn't pay too much attention to it. There's a really good tool that was released. Just find the exact name of it. So it's a SERP speed tool on redico.co.uk. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. In fact, you know what? Should I put it in the YouTube chat or something? Or I don't.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, you can say what it is or spell it out or just put it in the chat.
I don't have the stream open. Let me just open the stream again. I was worried that it's going to make my internet go too slow. But
yeah, it's blipping every once in a while. We can always hear you, I think, really well, but every once in a while your picture goes like that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I can put it in the chat that we've got. Hopefully you can see that, and then you can maybe put it in the chat or tell people.
There it is.
So what you do with this tool that's free is you put the keyword in that you want to rank for, you put your URL that you maybe already rank for or you want to rank for, you select your country, and then you analyze it, and it brings up all the domains that are already ranking, and it gives you their page speed scores and the breakdown. And if you do that, you will see that almost every single site that's out there is not optimized. So maybe sites are working on improvements, but it's such a huge percentage of sites that don't meet Google's supposed requirements for page speed that I don't think it's going to be a massive problem. And I have found that when they announce these updates way in advance, previously there was mobile Geddon, making your sites responsive, and there was moving to HTTPS, make your sites secure. Both times they announced those way in advance, and the updates were minimal, if nothing at all.
Yeah, well, I'm making the assumption, and this is definitely wrong, could be wrong, but is that they've been testing this and rolling it out on us and tweaking it in advance of like the official rollout. And I just really think that site speed is probably already being factored into whatever the algorithm is taking into account at this point.
But site speed definitely already plays a part. I'm not sure if that's directly or indirectly, but yeah, I would imagine that is the case.
Anthony asks, what are your thoughts on Conversion.ai? Have you tried it?
Haven't tried it. Can't say I know what it is. Is it the artificial intelligence copywriting thing? Is that what it is?
It's something I haven't tried it either.
Oh yeah,
but everybody, it seems, I don't want to say everybody, but lots of people in our community are trying it out right now and making videos about it. And I haven't even looked at the website before.
Yeah. So I just opened the website and I have seen it before because a guy I know, I think, wrote a guide about writing an affiliate post with that tool. My biggest thing about artificial intelligence is they can be the best copywriter ever. They can probably in the future come up with amazingly in-depth posts, but I don't think they'll be able to understand the problems that the person actually has that's searching for your particular guide, or your guide or your affiliate post or whatever. They won't understand what humans are actually having issues with in terms of, if they're looking for a product, they probably already know something about the product. They've probably seen stuff before, but understanding the pain points of a searcher is something a robot probably won't be able to do. So even if they're a better copywriter, am I even talking about the right thing here? I hope I'm talking about the right thing.
I think so. Yeah. This thing, I've never even looked at the website before, and so now it makes sense. Jarvis, yeah, I've seen a couple people with titles, saying Jarvis this or that, and it literally went. Keep scrolling. I don't know what that's about, but okay. And now I understand what people are talking about and why. So.
Yeah, I don't have any real thoughts on it, unfortunately, just because I don't know enough about it.
I think over time, more people will, and we'll get around to testing it out. But so you spend time on Twitter, and I was under the impression that Twitter was dead. Do you think there's value in being on Twitter now? I mean, is that a place you can actually build an audience? People just aren't out there trolling.
I mean, I certainly wasn't under the impression that Twitter was dead. But what I would say is that I'm not intentionally trying to build an audience or a following on Twitter. I just tweet stuff.
I mean, what's the value then being on Twitter?
I make a lot of decisions as insurance almost. I'm like, well, what if my whole business burnt down overnight? What do I have to fall back on? Not a lot. I don't exactly have the best CV in the world. Oh yeah, I just did whatever I wanted for the last 5 or 6 years. That's not. And they're like, oh, we'll talk about what you actually did do. And I'm like, well, I did this for a bit, and then I gave up for a few months, and then I did this. And so for me, excuse me, for me, it's like if I share what I know, if I share what I'm working on, people know who I am. They like following along with what I'm doing, or they like what I say, or they hate what I say, and they get angry with me. Ultimately, it's a bit of an insurance policy. And I have tweeted before saying, will someone hire me if this all goes wrong? Like, because that's one of the reasons why I do it. A bit of an insurance policy, a bit of networking, I guess. I really don't do networking. It's not something I do. I don't go out to try and meet people in the industry or make connections with people, but I just find that it happens so naturally on there. You just come across people and just naturally get introduced to them or have conversations with people that you only have to get one tiny bit of information from them in terms of like a tip or a strategy or a tactic, and suddenly they've become incredibly valuable to you. Because a tip in SEO that has some success could be worth thousands. So that's where I get a lot of my value. I don't follow a lot of people. I follow people that I think I can learn from. So I don't really follow. Well, I don't follow any of my friends. I don't really follow people who are doing the same stuff as me. I follow the people that are the best of the best because I just want to take information from them. Does that make sense? So I intentionally try to get value out of the platform. Whether I'm actually doing that by tweeting myself, I don't know.
I mean, the only time I go on Twitter and find myself enjoying myself is when I see humor, like humorous tweets. Like then I'm on Twitter, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And then I want to look, but I don't think of it as a place to go to get value, just because I think I underestimate what people are doing on Twitter because I don't use it myself.
For every one good thread, there's probably 5 bad threads, and I'm probably contributing most of those. But there are definitely people that share interesting takeaways on a fairly regular basis. Or like that SERP speed tool that I shared, I saw that on Twitter. It was actually someone that I follow who actually made that. So you definitely can get value. It's just about using it in the right way.
Well, when we talked, I think it was in December, it was just at the end of last year, I had mentioned something about live streaming, and I was like, hey, are you interested in doing that? And you're like, no, like, no way. Like the podcast is fine and you can put it on YouTube, but you had zero interest in streaming. But now you're here, obviously, and you also have started streaming on your YouTube channel. So what has changed in that time that's like, all right, I'm a streamer. I got myself some headphones. Let's do it.
Well, I've done one stream. Well, 2 streams on my channel. We spoke off air, obviously, before this started, but I'll tell everyone. I did 2 streams a couple of weeks ago where the first stream, it was me speaking for between 10 to 15 minutes and no one showed up. And I didn't actually know that you had to set your streams to be public rather than private. So I was actually just talking to myself with no one even able to see it. I then did a second. I gave up and I just got really angry and fed up. I was like, "Wow, that's embarrassing." No one turned up. Like I didn't mind one person turning up, but no one. That was a real kick in the teeth. And I was like, maybe I set something up wrong. I'm just going to try again. I tried it, and a few people ended up turning up and chatting and stuff. But it was really just a spontaneous thing. I definitely don't have plans to just start streaming all the time. The reason that I didn't want to go live with you before is that I'd never done a podcast before. I'd never spoken to anyone. I don't talk on the phone. I don't really do Zoom calls that much. I just needed that safety net of being able to ask you to edit stuff out, which I did make use of. So
did we edit stuff out? I honestly don't even remember that. I don't remember cutting anything out. Did I do?
I definitely remember one point where I just sort of lost my track and I was like, cut that out. Edit it out, please. And you did. When I watched it back, you had edited it out.
I try to be good about that. If somebody's like horrified with what they said, or they're like, that was wrong, like, please take it out. I'm really going to offend someone.
Oh, no, it wasn't anything like that. I think I just really stumbled over my words and lost track of where I was going, which, again, is not unusual for me, but it was a particularly bad incident. It needed to go.
One of the metrics that I was looking up, I was actually just like messing around in my own YouTube channel, and I have looked at this occasionally, but it has this information or the stat. It says, what channels do your viewers also watch under the YouTube tab? And I was curious because I was going to give you a chance to look and then tell you the channels that my viewers watch, because it gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 or 7 channels that my viewers watch. And I was curious just because our content is similar, but not.
Mine's just going to be, yeah, mine is 100% crypto.
Oh, interesting. Mine is 100% niche website stuff. The people who watch my videos also watch videos from the Income School, Passive Income Geek, Carl Broadbent, WP Eagle, Sean Mars, and Doug Cunnington. Those are the channels that my people watch. I was curious. What do people who are watching your channel watch?
Your list there, it was like a weekly Just Start subreddit thread where someone's like, what YouTube channel should I watch? And then those 6 names just come up, and every time I'm like, is someone really asking this question every week, or is one of these guys seeding this? I know some of them are probably watching this right now. I'm suspicious. I'm telling you, even if you're watching this, I'm suspicious of those threads, because I know for a fact I've said to people before, I'm like, can you drop my name in that thread? Like mine, yeah, I'm just looking through mine. I've never heard of any of these channels. There's 15, and every single one is a crypto channel, just because of that stupid crypto video.
So you had the crypto video that you published was about having the chance to make a lot of money in crypto, and it didn't work out.
I was just sharing stupid stuff. It was like I was recording every day, and I was just sharing stupid stories and stuff. Loads of them got deleted, but that one, for some reason, took off months after I published it. And
like how long? Like 9 months? Like a year?
It was October 2020. Yeah, October 2020. I'm just looking now. And then randomly in February or March, I think it was last month, maybe it was this month, earlier in the month, randomly it got like 250,000 views, and the video is terrible. So
what do you do with people who subscribe to your channel from that? Because you don't really make crypto videos. Exactly. So so do they watch more videos, or do you find that it's been harmful?
They just ruin my metrics mainly. I publish a video and it gets like 100 views or something, and the click-through rate's really bad and the watch time's bad because people aren't there for that. But it's just, I don't understand it. I did so many videos about other stuff, but this one video takes off and seems to ruin my channel. And then I did that live stream and I was saying, maybe I should talk about that sort of stuff more, just because it's what people want to see. But I've already changed my mind again on that, and I don't want to talk about things I don't want to talk about. So have you thought about making this like this channel that you have currently just a crypto channel, and then just punting and starting over on a branded channel? No, I had a crypto channel. I think that's why some of it went well. A few years ago I had a crypto channel. So some people followed me onto that. And I did start seeing comments from people when I was getting all these views. Some people were like, do I recognize you? Or did you have a channel before? Like, some people still follow me from that just because they like seeing what I'm talking about. But no, I don't have enough of an interest to have a crypto channel. I see Chris, it says, man, I didn't make the cut about the channels. And Chris, I will tell you that sometimes you do. And also he mentioned that Tortoise Cashflow is in his list of other channels that your audience watches. And that has also been the case as well. Just saying that this is just the metric today. I mean, last week, it changes all the time. I'm just saying, just because you didn't make it now doesn't mean it wouldn't. Yeah. Niche Safari definitely makes it onto the list of channels I'm highly suspicious about on the Just Start subreddit. Really? People, I just see the channels spoken about all the time, and it's the marketer in me. I'm thinking, are people actually talking about this, or is everyone seeding this and pushing it? And I'm sure they're not. I'm sure it is completely natural, but I just think the conversation comes up way too often. I'm like, why are people asking this again? Like, because when my channel got mentioned in it, or has been mentioned in it a few times, you see like 100 subscribers come through or 200 subscribers come through. So it's such a good resource to have that every time another one comes up, I'm like, all right, which one of you guys posted it this time? I'm sure I'm completely wrong.
Which is funny because Chris is here, and Chris is
Yeah.
like the last person on Earth who would actually be seeding Just Start to try to draw traffic from it. But so it makes me laugh.
Yeah. Especially as I've been so bad for it in the past, just trying to promote myself. But
oh, and Margaret says, I'm just learning that you can see what we watch, and that's unnerving. Well, it doesn't say Margaret specifically watches A, B, C, or D. It just says people who watched in like recently, the last 28 days, the people who watched my videos also.
And it's only like the most popular crossover, right? It doesn't say like one person watched one video. Your ASMR weird habits that everyone's into.
Or the research into habits. I wanted to give a shout out to Zach, who's here, and if he's still here in the chat, what's up, Zach? And thanks for all of your effort in the Mega spreadsheet. Says he hasn't had time to update on the Mega sheet, but he's still working, writing one article every day, which is epic. Basically, if you can just keep doing that, imagine where you could be in a year if you posted one article a day every single day for an entire year. That would be an epic site. That's awesome. So bravo, man. Bravo. Wayne down here, Wayne says he knows you because he jumped into the channel, into the chat earlier, and he said, did you miss me? And I've seen somebody jump in and like get ready to troll the stream. And so I went over here while you were talking and I switched into my live stream account, and I was like ready to be like
what? And was this Wayne?
Yeah, with Wayne. And I just said, hey, I like made some random response, and he's like, no, really, I know who Luke is. And I'm like, oh
yeah, this is my old boss. This is my old boss. Can you ask what he learned in agency life, which he's ditched because it doesn't work for what he does now? I don't really understand the question. I learned plenty of things in agency life, like
let's
how to be a terrible employee is probably number one. I think it happens in every. In fact, I've only really had 2 jobs, but both jobs, I think, for a year I was really good, and then for 6 months after that I was average, and then for the last year I was not a good employee, and it's something I'm really embarrassed about, and like it just fills me with shame. But I don't know what it is. It's because I always want to go off and do my own thing, and I find it hard to, stay focused and stuff. But what did I learn in agency life?
Well, before you jump into that, I'll let you think. And I just wanted to riff on that to tell you that I actually have that experience as well. Mm-hmm. And that happened to me before I went to law school and sort of fell into a profession. But I would regularly start these jobs and then do really well in the beginning and then fall off. And I had even been fired before because I just, for me, I really have to grow and I really have to have challenges like really laid out in front of me. And so for me, if I got to a place where I was just doing the job, either any level of decent or even really well, if there wasn't something new or something different or something that I could work toward at the time, I would basically self-destruct and destroy everything that I had built there.
Yeah.
And I just, knowing myself now, I have to always have something that I'm working towards, because if it's just swimming, and it's not the fault of my boss, my job, it's this quality that I have that if I don't have that, then I just.
Yeah. I actually remember having 2 really awkward conversations with Wayne, who's in the chat there, or I don't know if he's still in the chat and still listening to this, but 2 of the conversations I had, one, I was like, they gave us a Christmas bonus, and I was like, you should take the bonus back. I absolutely do not deserve it. You need to take this bonus back, which he rejected. And the second one, I remember having this meeting just before I left, or maybe a couple of months before I left, where I sat down. I was like, I don't really know how to say this, but I can't do any work. I don't know what it is. I sit down and I can't get it done. Like, I was trying to be as honest as I could. Like, I knew I wasn't being a good employee, but I just wanted to be open and be like, I don't know what's going on in my head, but I literally sit here and I cannot do it. Mm-hmm. And nothing really came of it. But I actually did quite a bit of research into that in about a year ago, trying to work out why that even happens. Like what is wrong with me for that to happen? And the stuff that I found, it seems to be linked to anxiety. Like the more you start overthinking and worrying about stuff, and I think maybe I'd even handed my notice in at that time, so I knew I was leaving and going off to do my own stuff, and that was obviously making me nervous or excited or whatever. You can get anxiety being excited as well as being nervous, and it seemed like you can get these mental blocks just from feeling anxious, and it's then that cycle where you started to be anxious, you can't do any more work, that makes you worried and anxious, and it just goes round and round. I don't know what the original question was getting at, so I don't know what I learned in agency life. I learned a lot. Most of what I know about growing sites, I learned in agency, I guess.
While you're talking, I took the opportunity to go to the stream and experiment with asking for people to hit the like button, and basically what I got was 2 immediate thumbs down. Oh, somebody. And then I've noticed the folks retracting them and then going over to hit the thumbs up. So thank you for messing with my self-confidence and self-esteem, everyone. Anthony admits that he said it was me. It was an accident. Well, there was 2 of you folks out there who did it. So oh my goodness. So that's a great segue to negative feedback on like putting yourself out there, because when you decide to build up one of these social channels, it is like kind of opening up and leaving yourself open for other people to be critical. I mean, it's great when they're positive and they say nice things, but sometimes the opposite happens. And one thing that I've always admired about you since I found you last year is your willingness to put yourself out there and be like, slay me, I don't care. Or at least you make it sound like you don't care. How do you get to that point? Or is it just totally a facade and you're like crying at home after people come back and say really crappy things? Because you've had definitely more trolls than I have had.
It's definitely not a facade. I really couldn't care less what people say about me or say to me.
Mm-hmm.
How? I don't know. I'm a person that realizes that when you do put yourself out there, especially when you're saying, oh, I messed up or I've done something wrong, or, oh, look at this thing that I said I'd know loads about. Well, turns out I'm not as good as I thought because all my sites have gone down in traffic. I know that that actually is an overall negative thing to be doing. It doesn't help my future prospects at all. I don't think to be talking about the times you've messed up or the times you've done things wrong, even though everyone does it. But the thing is that most people only talk about the things that they do right because social media is show the best parts of your life and never show anything bad. Whereas I'm more the opposite. I've been working on an article with someone actually, and they asked me for photographs, and I was like, I don't really have any photographs of me. I've got some from my wedding. Other than that, I can't really think of any photos I've had taken because I just don't care about capturing the high points of my life. I can remember them right now. Maybe in the future I won't be able to remember them, but I just find it fun to do the things that people don't expect. And in my case, that is talking about the things you've messed up on more than the things that you've got right. I do try and share my wins as well, but there are definitely smaller wins that I don't share. Whereas if I make smaller mistakes, I probably will. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I genuinely don't care what people say most of the time. There are very, very rare occasions where someone will hit a nerve, but they're normally the people that aren't trying to, I would say.
You know, anytime that I've seen folks, I don't want to say come at me or have things to say that aren't at least, because it's okay to be critical as far as constructive stuff, right? I mean, mm-hmm. I like outwardly admit to everybody that I'm a work in progress and I don't know everything. And if you want to learn about the expert tips, like go to the people who specialize in that. But I lost where I was going with that. Shoot. Where was I going with that? I was going to say it's constructive, getting trolled. It's gone.
Well, I had something to counter, and now you've made me think that now I don't know what I was going to counter. What I would say is that generally speaking, the people that are a work in progress.
Oh, I remember what it was.
They know more than perhaps even they think they know. Whereas the people who are the experts and call themselves such, they probably know less than they think. That is normally the situation. I find loads of people asking me for advice and asking me questions, and I don't know why. I talk about everything I mess up. I openly say that I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just sort of sharing my journey. Yet people want to ask me stuff, and I just have to say, oh, what are you asking me? I'm telling you how bad I am at this stuff. Go and ask someone that knows more.
What I remembered what I was going to say. Finally, it took a little while, but no, I was like, man, I must be getting old. No, it's like the value that you place on these troll type comments. I think about where they come from, right? In most cases, when they're made, they're not coming from people who are actually your colleagues, right? They're not actually either doing the work you're doing or doing the work that you're talking about. Like for YouTube, for example, I almost never I don't think I've ever gotten a negative comment on any of my videos from anybody who's actually a YouTube creator. Like there are always people who are off YouTube and are just coming in to consume content. And when people want to talk about, oh, your thumbnail is terrible, or, they want to be critical of your video, like I will take that criticism to heart if you were a creator. But if you're somebody who's on the couch, who's like scrolling and catches part of my video and like thinks to leave me a comment, I should not, and I need to work harder on this, is to really take those comments as being valuable, like valuable criticism. It's just criticism. And like the same thing with the website, folks like who, want to make criticisms about anything that I do about SEO or whatever. Like it's really rare for those folks to come at me and leave any type of nasty, negative comment. I mean, they'll tell me when I'm wrong, and I deserve to be called out when I'm wrong, but the rest of it is advice or comments that I should feel free to ignore, because what are they?
Other content creators won't often call out criticism of other people because they know what it's like. And another thing I would say about that, again, bringing up the Just Start subreddit, which I've been on a mission against for a long time, it seems, there was discussions in there previously which actually referenced threads that I'd put in there before as well, where a lot of people were saying that they don't want content creators, YouTubers, bloggers, or whatever, to be linking to their own videos or their own blog posts. They want everyone to share case studies of their progress and share advice and share tips, but never link back to their own stuff. But all of the people saying that never share their own case studies. They're just people that are there to take. So that is one issue. People just want stuff for free. And if they actually contributed themselves, they would probably be thinking, actually, I should probably be doing something more with this because I'm giving a lot of value and getting literally nothing in return. The other thing that I spoke about in that live stream that I did, because I had a troll stop by and say hello and say a few things, I think most people who are leaving negative comments are probably in a bad place. And if it helps them to let off some steam by just being horrible to someone else, then you know what, I'm here. You can say whatever nasty things you want to me. If it makes you feel better, then good for you. But I do just feel a bit sorry for those people, and I just hope they can find other ways to improve their life if that's what they feel like they've got to do to pass the days.
That's a great attitude, and I aspire to get there. I still have a hard time not like internalizing even comments that aren't like obviously troll. Like some people come in and they're obviously a troll because they're going to say something like, you look like a, whatever. I mean, they're not in there. They didn't really watch anything. They don't really care. They just want to say something hurtful because it makes them feel good. But then it's other people who say something that you like, they thought about it and maybe they watched the video all the way through. And then of all the things they picked out to say, that stuff, I have a really hard time just like,
yeah, the thing that gets me is people that they comment like acne treatment stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, like, just why are you telling me this stuff? Like, I'm recording myself, I've got spots all over my face, I edit it, I can see there are spots all over my face. I know before I record that there are spots all over my face, but I still think, you know what, I'm going to put this out there because it might help some people. And then there are people that are like, oh, just so you know, I'm going to be really helpful here. Here's some treatment because look how spotty and disgusting you are. Like they obviously they don't say that. They try and be nice, but like I know why I'm spotty. It's because I eat the wrong things that don't. There's certain foods I have. If I have bread or milk and stuff, it just makes me spotty. So if I'm spotty, you know I've been eating bad. I don't need some stupid cream. Don't tell me what I need. I know what I need, and sometimes it just happens to be bread and milk.
Checking over in the chat, Paul says, you sold for a site for over $200,000. He says that makes you an expert. I think it definitely, yes, an expert at selling a betting site. What do you think about that? If somebody says you had this win, that makes you an expert. Agree or disagree?
I would say that I can't officially say what the price was, and I can't confirm or deny if it was over 200k. I've never stated in a video what the price was, other than it was six figures. So firstly, I just want to get that out of the way. I don't, just because that was pretty much the only agreement I ever had with the buyer, was that I won't say what the price was. I would say that that was just incredibly lucky timing. I was so lucky that when I started that site, there was no one in the space really. There was a few other blogs that I actually know one of my biggest competitors. We speak every now and again on Twitter. From back in the day, he was actually running the biggest competitor site, and I didn't know him at the time. But I was just really lucky that there was only three or four sites out there that were really low quality, in my opinion. They didn't have much content. I could go in, make a load of content, and then after I did that, I was sort of trying to lead the charge of educating everyone about this industry, which was match betting, which I think we briefly discussed before, but it was basically this thing which no one really knew about and everyone thought was a scam. So I was leading the charge of saying, look, everyone, this is actually real. I've just done it myself. It's real. It's not a scam. Please just believe me. If you don't believe me, I don't really care. But if you do believe me, then just try it for a day. See if you make any money from it. If you do, good. If you don't, well, you did something wrong, because it's impossible to not. And then as more and more people started realizing it, it just boomed. The whole industry boomed. Then we're now on the downside, where the industry is in massive decline. Everyone's getting banned from doing it. You can't do it as much anymore. But I just got lucky with timing in terms of competition and the industry exploding. I did have to outrank some sites. It's not as if I didn't know SEO and I didn't make good content and stuff, because I did do those things. But I would say that just because you sold a site for whatever amount of money, it doesn't mean you're an expert. It just means you managed to make a good project. I've made a hell of a lot of bad projects.
I think it's fair to say if you get to that point, you can at least acknowledge that you know some stuff.
I launched the site and I wrote the first blog post, and I had 2 affiliate commissions on the first day or the second day.
So you feel like that was luck?
That is luck. Have you ever done that? Have you ever just written one blog post on a site and sold?
Not on the first day.
And it was monthly recurring commissions as well. So you sell a product, you're earning the same amount the next month and the month after and the month after.
Chris is asking, did you sell the site in a private sale or through a broker?
Private sale through Twitter, direct message. Every deal I've done has been through Twitter or WhatsApp. But
Wayne says, he's just leaving compliments everywhere, as the guy I thought was going to be trolled turns out to be the nicest dude in the chat.
No, he's both. He's definitely a troll and a nice guy.
He's never shouted out about himself, but he knows his stuff, even if he doesn't know it. Paul is also saying nice things in the chat, which, my ego just don't mind at all.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Wayne.
And Anthony is the same. And then Stiggs, who has been super quiet in the chat, mentioned that Nate over at Channel Makers did a video today on the topic. I'm assuming that's the topic of negative comments or trolls. I saw that Nate had an experience recently where somebody did a copyright strike on his channel that was unwarranted, and he eventually got it undone. But I got the feeling that it was kind of a stressful thing for him, because it shouldn't have been done in the first place. We go and do all this work and then have somebody who just, and this happened to me last year, actually. Somebody I got a privacy strike on one of my videos that was struck. It was a live stream, and that I literally felt like I did nothing for it, and I appealed it and lost and never figured out exactly what I had done. But it felt like I'm going to put it in my air quotes, my business was, it's like shaken. Like I lost some security about the existence of this channel because somebody made a privacy strike. And I felt like, to this day, I still feel like it was unwarranted. It was literally one of these where I was talking with somebody, and then that video got taken down and I could never save it. So
now, I had a community guideline strike on my match betting channel because YouTube changed their rules regarding linking to gambling related websites. So they literally changed the rule and gave me a community guideline strike, which is the same thing as like a copyright strike, but they don't actually disappear. So if you have 3 of these, then your channel's gone. Whereas I think the copyright strikes, they sort of time out, I think, over like 6 months or a year. Maybe I'm wrong on that. and I can agree with how frustrating that was, because I've been through it, and it's horrible just knowing that you've had one strike. What if someone just gives you another strike for a bad reason because I completely disagreed with the reason? Anyway, I was like, I'm literally here teaching people how not to gamble. Why are you giving me a strike for linking to gambling websites when my whole channel is based around not gambling?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's horrible to be in those situations.
Mom Van Up, you know, lady, I always just have to call you like Mom or Van Up. Like one of these days you'll tell me your name so that I can actually use your name. But the situation with Nate felt really wild. It made YouTube feel like social media. I saw his videos. He's not somebody that I'm like acquainted with one-on-one, but I could definitely relate to the situation. Stig says, I don't want you spoiled, because I was shouting him out for being kind of quiet in the chat today. And he mentioned that your deer is crooked. And when he said that, I was looking around, looking for the deer on my side. And I finally realized that it was over there.
Yeah, I don't think it's crooked. I think it's just the angle of the camera.
So I just looked down and we are at, it's Sabina. All right. When I forget, because I will forget, it takes a couple of times, but remind me in the future, just say, hey, it's Sabina here. I will get this. It's important to me. We are circling around. We've been here for an hour. I have to tell you that this was really fun, and the hour is just like gone, but we're going to work towards wrapping up. If people want to know more about you, or you want people to follow you or check out anything, like this is your chance. Like, what do you have coming out? Do you have cool videos on a certain topic that people should look for, or should they come follow you on Twitter? Like where?
I don't really have anything to promote. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, at LR_Jordan. I'm not here to promote. I just came to chat about stuff, and yeah, if you want to follow me, you can.
Well, I will say that I do follow. Well, I occasionally log in on Twitter, and you're one of the few people that I follow. And what I love is that your sense of humor on Twitter is, if you didn't know who you were and that you were being funny, that people would see your posts and like, what?
Yeah,
because it's meant for people who.
They feel like, well, this guy is so weird.
Stiggs asks, what is your accent, Luke, origin story? And then hang on, there was someone else who was asking about if you were from, I think it was Chris was asking, he's guessing Bedfordshire.
That's such an American pronunciation. So we would say Bedfordshire, like that's how we say it over.
Bedfordshire. I always think of the Shire, because in Lord of the Rings, the hobbits live in the Shire.
The best one is Leicestershire for Americans. That is spelled like it's so weird. They're like Leicestershire. But no, I don't know where Bedfordshire is. I'm not very good with geography. I'm originally from near Birmingham, and now I live near to Derby. But I just say I'm from near Birmingham. Most people normally, I'm sure this isn't something you can pick up on, but most people in the UK can pick up the accent.
No,
it's an embarrassing accent to have.
Is it like it all? Yeah. I hate to say this, but it all kind of sounds sort of the same.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like the stupid accent of the UK. It's the low IQ. It's the low IQ. People are like, oh God, I don't want to listen to that.
Then Stig says Tennessee. Yes. Well, do you think Tennessee? I'm not sure where you're going with that, because his accent is definitely not Tennessee. Are you trying to imply that Americans, that if you're from Tennessee and you have a Tennessee accent, that's the equivalent accent? I don't know. I wouldn't have said that. Margaret said definitely. I'm definitely a Brummie.
Yeah, Brummie. Yeah, Birmingham Brummie. Yeah.
Well, she knows, because I don't, because I did not know what that meant. I was like,
and if she didn't, she'd have got it from when I said stupid. She's like, oh, you're right. He does sound stupid. He must be a Brummie.
Then he says Birmingham, Tennessee. All right. I think that he's giving us a hard time, and
there's probably one in America as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of
there's
places
more
with the same name. Yeah.
Zach says, what soccer team do you follow?
Aston Villa. Yeah. Local team to Birmingham. They're probably the greatest team that's ever lived, I would say, if you like disappointment and failure like I do.
What's awesome about that is that you delivered that like so passionately, and you're like, the best team ever. And I was waiting, and I was like, if you like disappointment.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
sort of on
Well,
the up. It's on the up at the minute, so it's like it feels like exactly how I am in my life. It's like everything's going right. Oh, but it's gonna go wrong again.
and then let's remind ourselves who we are and what we
Yeah.
do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in this Wednesday. I don't have a guest lined up for next week, but if I manage to get someone to talk to me, I will let you know. Otherwise, I will see you next Wednesday, same time, same all of the things. And Luke, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. It was really fun.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to everyone in the chat as well.